Howdy, I'm Vortex. I want to go ahead and ramble on about a topic that's very special to me, namely being Genshin Impact and coaching and how that has affected me in my life. So I wanted to go ahead and get this out of the way. A little bit of a disclaimer. There is going to be some heavy topics in here and a lot of sort of like a lot of hard things that I've had to deal with that I wanted to share. It's not really going to be a happy ending video. It's more going to be bittersweet. So I wanted to get that out of the way first. So that way, if you don't care to hear those sort of things, you can go ahead and click off and check out any of my other videos that are usually a little more upbeat and a little more fun. But for now, let's go ahead and hop into it. So back in 2020, at the start of everything that's gone on in the world, if you know, you know. um, the world was in chaos. I was currently staying with my two stepbrothers and sort of going through a bit of a hard time trying to find work, doing a dead end job that was only paying me less than McDonald's, more or less, in the tech industry. So I emotionally was not in a good spot. I ended up stumbling across a friend of mine who ended up telling me about this new game that was up and coming called Genshin Impact. I heard there was a lot of good and bad things about it, and I figured since my friends were playing it, I would go ahead and give it a try. So I started playing. A short while in, it was in October of 2020. I ended up pulling on the banner, not knowing what the heck I was doing or how these gacha games worked, and the banner was Kuching. So I'm like, oh, she's a cute character. I'll roll for her. I ended up getting a few copies of her, with all the free pulls that we ended up getting at the start. And I departed on my journey. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just farting around Teyvat, pretty much just having a good time, enjoying the story, the environments, and over time, Kuching became a main staple in my team. And the one thing that I really loved about it was the fact that during world exploration, this was long before Teapot, long before Dragonspine even, the friendship levels were in the game for the very beginning. And if you had that character in your team in your main spot when you're using them, and they leveled up their friendship level, at certain milestones, they would actually talk in game with that voice line that unlocks at that friendship level. And I'm not sure if a lot of people these days know that, because most of what people do these days is just throw their characters in Teapot, get the friendship levels up so they can go ahead and get the name card. But to me, during my rough time, Genshin was an escape. And whether that's healthy or not, I'm not sure, but the current circumstances dictate that it's very, very difficult to get into any kind of professional help. I've tried, trust me. It's usually like it takes months and months and months to get even a single appointment. So I had to make my own foundation. And my sort of anchor point ended up being Kuching over time. And over our journeys together, we grew, and we progressed together more or less. And one thing that sort of always stuck true in my mind is when she would say, "Enough procrastinating, let's go." And most of you think, oh, she's just annoyed with you, she's being a pain in the ass or whatever, but no, I don't think it's any of that, because I think that line was more or less designed to be a, hey, keep going, in my mind at least. And this sort of train of like the storylines and the event quests and stuff like that, every single event or story that would release, there was always something that would speak to me on a personal level that always helped me get through, keep going, keep pushing forward, and not giving up. And that's sort of what I kept doing. And 2021 rolled wound. I ended up getting the yeah, the thing, and I ended up with losing time at work, because I was only part-time. The only thing that really kept me from going under is the fact that I was staying with family members, and I did not get paid for 2 weeks, even though the business I was working for had pushed and pushed and pushed to become an essential business. So I ended up in a real off spot. I was really, really low mentally. And then it was a very bad sequence of events where I ended up losing 2 jobs in a row, ended up in some legal issues I won't get into, that weren't even my fault, to be fair. And I was at my end's rope, but one thing that really kept me going was those little voice lines. And one that really stuck out to me was at the hardest point when I unlocked, I think it was either friendship level 4 or 6, I can't remember. It was her voice line on trying. Give it a try. You'll see. What if you try if it doesn't work out? I don't believe that'll happen. You don't seem the type. And that really struck a chord with me, because when you can't really do nothing, when you can't do nothing, do what you can. And that's sort of what spoke to me. So I kept pushing. I found another job, moved another state west, and went from there. Things didn't really work out there either. So I grew up in Pennsylvania. I'd moved 2 states at this point westward. And eventually, I ended up in another bad spot. The job I was at, the manager didn't like me, let me go on the spot. So I was out of a job, couldn't make that next month's rent, had to move in a week. I had some really good friends of mine help me move out to, Midwest, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But hey, even though I've been on and off with Genshin, have always had sort of the best experience with having that escape or that anchor point for me. Granted, I had some other anchor points that I've built off of as well, and we will get into those another time. But for right now, we're focusing on Genshin and how Kuching more or less saved me. Because it may seem silly, she's a fictional character, and I'm probably schizo posting right now. It's fine. But I will give credit where credit is due. The writers of MiHoYo probably understood more than anyone during that time that everyone was going through a hard time. And the writing that they had spoke to some people in some different ways, and I'm sure it has to you if you played Genshin. And that's kind of why I stuck with it, because I really am grateful that the game exists, even though it's had its hard times and its good times. It's been special for me, in my heart at least, because it's been able to allow me to strive through and push forward when the times were at their hardest. And I'm still going through hard times. I'm still trying to get on my feet. But when I'm able to throw some stones into the quicksand that's, under me and pulling me under, I'm able to step up a little bit. And whether that's through, the fictional women in our Chinese gacha game that, ends up, bringing us a little bit of joy during the day or after work or whatever, when you're exhausted and you just want to have a good time and chill, that's enough for me. And that's more or less how Genshin saved me from doing some incredibly bad things to myself. I won't exactly get into the details, but I've been close on a few times, but through Genshin and the other support structures that I've had, whether or not they're professional or not, I've been able to push through and keep going. And that's real important to me. And I wanted to go ahead and, with the new update and everything coming out for Genshin, it's sort of somewhat renewed my sort of fantastical escape for Genshin. And it shows that they are listening and they are caring when they put out in their live stream that people have been asking for years for a lot of these benefits. And they listen to every single one of them. They're taking it seriously, and that's extremely promising, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And I just want to go ahead and end off and say, if you stuck around with me for this long, I appreciate you. Normally my content isn't this somber, but I have another video set for after this about ReZero and how that impacted my life. And that should be the closing video on all the depressy, sorrowful things. It's not exactly an indication, and I do want to clarify, this is not a reflection of my mood, but more so I want to put these out for myself and for those who are curious, because for me, I want to go ahead and become the best, entertainer and streamer, not because I want to be famous or anything like that, but because I want to improve myself and have a good time and share my knowledge and wisdom with others and to see where I grow from. This is the baseline. This is where this video here and the few other videos that I've posted regarding my own personal stuff, this is the baseline. It's only up from here. We're optimism maxing right now. So when I, if for example I end up, popping off in the next few years or whatever and having a good time, and I can always look back on this video and say, hey, that was rough then, but look at where I am now. And that's what I hope to achieve someday. And I want this also be stand as an example that even though things are hard, keep going, keep trying, stop procrastinating. Let's go.